Hello friends, welcome back to A Garden Named Bill. This is your tour for Monday the 8th of July, 2019. So as you can see, I put in another little creative placemaking doodad here. And this was actually over there, but I got this huge garden hook on sale for like 10 bucks from the Habitat Restore. So I brought it home, I sanded all the chipped paint off, and I put in this metallic green. It looks actually very pretty. Thank you to everybody who liked last week's video. It actually did really well performing, so I'm going to do a similar style this week where I go through many things and I itemize them in the description below, so you can check out that for exact timestamps if you're not interested in everything and you just want to see a couple things specifically. With that in mind, let's see the overview for this week. So I'm filming this at 7 o'clock on Sunday night because that gives me time to edit and schedule it for a nice early morning debut. So we've also got even lighting because of that, which is really convenient. And you can see a couple different things. You can see that the peas there are starting to yellow, so they are nearing the end of their life cycle. And from this end, it's really hard to get a full grasp on everything else. Look, we got a sunflower in there. That looks really nice. And when you just kind of peek through here, you can definitely see how nice and green the annuals are. It's really been terrific. And here, when we get around to this corner behind me, I know I usually don't extend the overviews this far, you can see that the raspberries are huge, they're going crazy, and we've actually harvested some. Well, my one big task that I'm going to do this week is kind of garden related. I'm going to make jam. I'm going to try to make jam, fit it in my schedule. It's going to be my first year trying it. I went to my mother-in-law's last week and got a tutorial for making strawberry jam, and that was important for me to learn the process when I need to use pectin on certain fruits, and just what the whole, sterilizing and boiling and canning process looks like. So fingers crossed that should be good. But as you can see, within 1 week, the raspberries have become red, and these actually, before you completely harvest them, they will turn almost black. Oh, I don't have a perfect one to show you, do I? Well, this one's decent. Yep, it's still not entirely there, otherwise it would have popped off right away. But you can see that, oh, the focus is on my face. You can see that's pretty dark. Oh, maybe there's a better one here. Pause for eating. Well, you get the gist. Anyways, I'll be harvesting these soon, probably not this week. 3 kinds of jams: straight up gooseberry, gooseberry rhubarb, and gooseberry raspberry. And I spent a lot of time this last week harvesting my gooseberry bush, and I think I only harvested about 35% of it, and it was still a little over 2 kilos. And then I spent 5 hours doing a process called tail and tasseling. So you have to snip off the blossom end and you have to snip off the stem end. And I just do it with a thumbnail. You kind of scrape it off before you use gooseberries in cooking. That was a lot of fun. It was fun. We watched Good Omens on Amazon Prime TV while I was doing that. It's great. So it's ready for jam. This week ahead section has already gone too long, so let's go to the next point. So for highlights this week, instead of going through every single plant like I did last week, I'm just going to go over some of the things that have changed or things that I have other thoughts on. If you want to see the comprehensive list of everything, check the timestamps in the description below, and I recommend you watching last week's video for week 13 if you want to see every single thing as it relates to this week. Well, the corn grew finally, which I'm pleased about. I'm afraid to squat down in this shot because of how bad my mic cut out last week, but you can see that it's just about to my knee. The saying is knee high by the 4th of July. And so some of it's kind of getting there approximately around the same time, but this is still considered bad. That being said, I'm pleased to see what's coming up, and I've got squirrels or some sort of varmints eating them. Looks like I lost probably 2 plants in this section back here, but that's okay. Next year, if I add another raised bed in this area, which I'm contemplating, I might do some like netting over these to protect them from birds and squirrels and other stuff. Over in this section, I found 2 volunteer I found 2 volunteer Aunt Molly's ground cherries. That's what these are, right over here. And so I dug them up and I put them in a pot, and they took just fine after a couple days being wilted. Now they're growing. Fun fact, This was several years ago. I'm going to duck down so I'm in frame to tell you a story, and I'm going to check my mic to see that it's actually still recording. Look at that. A couple years ago, I planted a whole bunch of ground cherry plants, and they were wonderful. I love them. They taste so great. They're great in pies. They're great just on their own. They've got these cute little candy shells. You don't eat the shells. They just look like candies. And I ate a bunch of them, but then I left a whole bunch of them in the ground too. It was like more than I could possibly harvest because I planted like 12 frickin' plants, not knowing. And all those seeds then just went into the soil. And I never thought anything of it because you ask people my age, and most people don't know what a ground cherry is, but you ask people my grandparents' age. So Grandpa's like 93, and I got some in my upper 80s, and they're like, oh yeah, those were weeds. And I just kind of chuckled like, oh, okay, maybe he just means everybody had them. No, they're definitely weeds. And since I used to till my soil before I put the wood chips down and had the raised beds, that means there are ground cherry seeds everywhere. So they haven't come up really well through the wood chips, but the soil in my raised beds is native soil. So every now and then a ground cherry will just pop up like surprise. So these are my surprise plants that I didn't plant this year. I planted 4 years ago, and they're still coming up. Isn't that a great story? And these two things here, actually I got some tobacco seeds because I wanted to see if I could grow something that was very much not native to my climate. And this one looks like it's doing fine. Kind of fun. We'll just see what happens. Well, last week in some of his videos, Luke the MI gardener did some reseeding for the summer, and he planted some more mammoth sunflower seeds. So I thought, well, why shouldn't I? Usually I consider this far too late in the season to do it, but what the heck. So these are mammoth sunflower seeds that have germinated about 5 days ago. This was the pot that had those really sad and depressing milkweed plants in it, and I took those out. And then next door, the zucchini plant's doing really well. As you can see, I've got zucchini that I can harvest already. Yay! And I think we'll probably take that off and do a stir fry or ratatouille or something like that. All of the peppers look pretty slick. So the specialty pepper side, the first few don't really look like anything. This look like green peppers. That's an orange bell. This is like a yellow bell pepper essentially. And then we've got the banana peppers. Those are doing well. I think they're really tasty. And these are a mild jalapeno because I am a Wisconsinite. Over in tomato land here, this is the Rapunzel tomato. You can see I've actually got one that looks like it's about to ripen there. So hopefully we'll have some tomatoes to snack on soon. But you can see it's climbing up really well. Those light green ties are what I've been using as I've been taking off the bottom leaves and single stemming this for the most part. And it's just going up and up and up, which is really nice. This is the better part of 4 feet tall now. Both of these two tomatoes are. And if I go to the other end, here's the kicker. Look at this cluster. So this, instead of just being 2 tomato plants here, I think I put like 6 in, and they were really straggly and disgusting. These are the ones that I started indoors. And they're all bearing fruit. Here, check it out, see? Oh, wait for it. See, there's some tomatoes over there. Isn't that exciting? So I'm still doing this with a few of them. I'm single stemming them and training them up, just like I do the other ones on the other side. And then the other ones, I just threw some cages around. So it's a cluster over here, and I don't care. I'm just excited to see what happens. So the Egyptian walking onions now are these little shallots at the top. They are turning brown, which means that they were on the ground, they would form roots and go crazy. So if you're in the area and you want to grow some Egyptian walking onions, come on over and I'll snap some of these off for you. And you literally just have to throw them on the ground and they will take root. Except, this year I'm also getting some flowers on the tops here. I have never seen that before. I've only had these, I think, for 3 or 4 years. So we're gonna follow that closely. They look like little white flowers. Very pretty. Not sure what they're gonna do. Probably make some seeds. That's what flowers do. So, let's talk cauliflower. If last week my heads were just smaller than a golf ball, this week they are just smaller in size than a baseball on all 5 of my plants. When you zoom out, it doesn't look very impressive, but they're getting bigger and it's happening quickly. I spent a decent amount of time in this bed last week. I was doing some weeding, and I also thinned out the beets. I harvested every other beet, and I process them. So I got the actual beets themselves. They are being stored in the refrigerator, exact same way that I stored my radishes. And then the beet leaves, I also chopped those off. We're gonna make some beet leaf hummus this week, and that should be delicious. And in thinning these out, this row of spinach is doing quite nicely. I think I can actually start harvesting some of these small leaves again, which is great. And then this second row is kind of sickly, but I think once these beets here are gone, you know, that'll thrive again. We'll see. The thing about spinach is this is not the time of year for it where I am. I think when spinach gets over like 14 hours of daylight, you know, direct sun a day, if you can hear moose in the background, that's my dog. When spinach gets more than 14 hours of direct sunlight a day or so, it will bolt, and I'm getting a lot of flower heads even on this tiny, very tender stuff. So we'll see how long this lasts. I am going to do a third seeding of it though, and probably put it in the ground mid-August. So when it's prime in, you know, end of September, beginning of October, that'll be nice and cool again, and the sun will not be as harsh. And I think we'll have a really nice harvest in that time of year, same as we did early in the spring. Hi, so this is an interesting angle. I know it is kind of hard to see, but I just wanted to show you what the beans are doing. These that were only maybe 4 feet tall last week. If you follow my finger, you can see this one's up here past 6. This one goes up and goes all the way to the top and curls around. So if this were straight up, it'd be about 8 feet. So these have grown really, really nicely. And in fact, I've got flowers on some of these already. So I'll be having my pole beans really, really soon, which is so nice. And these will flower as long as you pinch them off until the frost. So yay, here's the fresh beans coming soon. But this is cool. We talked a lot about peas last week, and I just wanted to have a close-up here. But first, let me check my mic. So in this close-up, what you can see is that the leaves are now turning yellow. So peas are at the end of their life cycle. I know it's sad, but we've already harvested like 3.5 pounds of peas, so we're doing fine. I have left probably a dozen or so pods on to get fat and yellow, and then I'll save those peas. I selected them from the tallest pea pods, so you know, hopefully that genetic trait of being tall will continue on, and hopefully I can do this for years and years and years and breed some freakish variety called like Christopher's Tall Wisconsin Peas. Maybe not. I wanted to showcase my orchard last week, but my mic cut out and it wasn't working because I've got my street right here and the noise was too loud. But I don't always go through the trees. I just wanted to show you that 4 of the 5 of them are taller than me now. These crazy little bare root whips that were, you know, no bigger than a stick 3 years ago are now cresting over 8 feet, which is just terrific. This is the Macintosh apple, and in fact, that's already spreading its branches out horizontally really nicely on its own. This is a peach that can survive as, it's cold hardy, I think even up to zone 4, and I'm 5A, so that's pretty cool. This has just done such a nice job opening up. Next year I'll be adding weights or tying strings just to encourage this outward growth instead of upward growth as you do with orchards. It's a Bartlett pear over there. It's skinny, but now it's taller than I am. This is a Granny Smith apple, and this is 1 year younger than everybody else, but it came to me really healthy looking. Excuse me. And now it's taller than I am. This is a companion pear. It might be a Bosch pear, I forget, but it's a companion pollinator for the Bartlett, and it's maybe 4 feet tall, but everything is looking really nice. I love it. I can't wait. Let's see. I'll stop right here. I can't wait until, well, I say this every year. I can't wait till next year. But next year when I start adding the weights and, you know, like the 2 or 3 feet worth of growth next year is green and it's weighed down and it's going out like this, some of those trees like the Macintosh and the peach might actually start to connect already, which is the goal. I planted these maybe 2 feet closer than you would together per tree in a commercial orchard, based off of recent studies that suggest fruit trees, you know, for hobbyist gardeners like this, fruit trees that are grown that touch each other in the foliage have a 20% better pollination rate by the honeybees and other bees because they just go straight from tree to tree and the foliage doesn't stop, so they can't sense that they're like stopping at a tree, so there's no indicator to say, oh, this is done, I have to find something else. They just keep going and going and going. That's a really bad summary of the really well-written article that I read, but that's what I'm going off of. So, you know, it's easy for me to see this space 5 years ago as the barren piece of crap that it was. And it's easy for me to look at it now and then look 5 years from now when these trees are going to be, you know, in their second, third, maybe even fourth year of fruit production. And they'll be, you know, 12 feet tall or 14 feet tall. And then 5 years after that, when they're, you know, they could almost be driving. And they're touching together, and who knows, maybe my wonderful wife will let me plant a few more fruit trees in front of it. It's just so much fun for me to think of. So this apple, or this orchard, is really a symbol of gardening planning, making a plan, and executing it, and just seeing what wonderful things happen year after year. Which is funny, because I'm a terrible planner for everything else in my life. I can't even make like a weekly to-do list without having anxiety. So here's to the best parts of my wife rubbing off on me. She's a really great planner, and that's allowed me to be a good garden planner. So, right? You just continuous improvement with life. Eventually I'll be really good at planning things and executing them, like in the house and other places where it matters. So that's a tangent. A big, huge thanks to everybody who submitted pictures and videos for the fan compilation last week. That's coming out this week on Thursday the 11th, which is my birthday. So thank you for the birthday gift. I look forward to sharing that with all of you, and I can't wait to see what the comments are. And that's essentially it. I'm really excited for raspberries finally being here. That's nice to see red in the garden. That's cool. And everything else is doing well and growing splendidly now that we've had lots of heat in the 80s and such, good sun, the appropriate amount of rain. Everything is really nice as it should be. How's your garden coming? Thanks a lot for watching. Let me know how you like this formatted video with, you know, the time stamps in the description and such. And I appreciate you watching. Have a wonderful day and happy gardening. Bye, guys.